That morning, the sun poured into my kitchen just the way Richard used to like it. Soft golden, warming the floor tiles. I had just made toast, sliced strawberries the way my granddaughter Becca always picked out first, and was halfway through the crossword when my phone buzzed. It was from my son, Evan. No greeting, no question, just 7 words. Start packing. The house has been sold. I stared at the screen, waiting for it to correct itself. Sold? Without asking? I checked the sender again. Yes, Evan. My Evan. The boy who used to cry if I left his room before he fell asleep. My fingers went cold. The toast sat untouched. Did he think I wouldn't notice? Or that I'd say thank you? Where did the decision happen? Over brunch with Lauren? Between carpool and conference calls? And what about me? Emma, my name is Margaret Delaney. I'm 67 years old and live in Charleston, South Carolina. That's when I realized they didn't just forget to ask me. They stopped believing I had a say at all. I called him right away. The phone rang just once before Evan picked up. Hey, Mom, I'm at the office, but I've got a minute. What's up? He said I was sitting in the wicker chair by the window. My hands rested in my lap, fingers stiff with the morning chill. I just read your text, I said, voice calm but not soft. There was a pause. Then, oh, right, about the house. You should probably start packing. We found a really good buyer. Lauren's friend is handling it. They want to close by the end of the month. I said nothing. The man I raised just told me to pack up 45 years of life like I was an overstayed guest. No discussion, just a done deal wrapped in bullet points. I finally asked, "You sold the house?" Without asking me? Evan exhaled, half patience, half irritation. Mom, Lauren and I are doing this for you. That house is too big. You shouldn't be climbing stairs, dealing with roof leaks, or shoveling the driveway alone. You need a place that makes sense. Does it make sense to whom? My eyes drifted toward the back porch, where the magnolia tree bloomed late this year. The same tree I watered every week. The same garden I still weed. I was grieving. Evan's voice continued, smoother now. We've already reserved a spot for you, just outside town. It's a beautiful senior community, nurses on staff and activities every day. You'd have your own balcony, there's a book club, yoga, even a little art studio. A balcony, a book club, and a quiet place to disappear. Evan, I asked slowly, did you ever stop to think that maybe I'm not ready to leave? There was silence. Then the dreaded tone, sympathetic, but firm. Mum, I know you miss Dad, but you can't live in the past. This is a practical next step. The word tasted like cold oatmeal. And where exactly do you expect me to live in this next step? He brightened. There's a studio apartment on the 2nd floor, sunny, warm, and easy access to the elevator. Lauren already paid the deposit. Everything's taken care of. Taken care of. Like I was an obligation, checked off a to-do list. What about all my things? I asked. We hired movers. You can keep a few special items. The rest, we'll put in storage or donate. Don't worry about it. They were erasing me, not loudly but efficiently. And your father's things? I asked, quieter now. The records he collected. The desk he built. His journals. Evan paused, then said, Mum, those are just things. Just things. Number. They were parts of a life, of a man, of me. Richard once told me, when people stop valuing memory, they start forgetting who they are. Evan had already forgotten. Lauren never remembered. The call ended with a line meant to be comforting. We're doing this for you. You'll see. It's better this way. I didn't respond. I didn't agree. I stared around the dining room, the curtains, the old lamp, the picture of our wedding day. I know I'm being written out of my own story. When they say, we're doing this for you, but never once ask what you want, that's not love. That's control wrapped in concern. Another chime. A message from Ruby. Mom, I'm sorry I didn't speak up. Evan's not a bad person. but you deserve to be asked. I feel powerless sometimes. I read the message, then read it again. Ruby, my youngest, the tender one, the hesitant one, the one who always stood one step behind other people's decisions. She had a heart, but she still hadn't learned how to defend the things that mattered, even when that thing was her own mother. I scrolled through my messages, back to the thread with Becca. The last text was from December. "Thanks, Grandma, the scarf was so cute. Love you." I kept scrolling. There was nothing after Richard died. No, "Are you okay?" No, "I miss you." Just silence. Digital love, tidy, filtered, festive enough for Instagram, but not strong enough to show up in real life. I sat there motionless, but this time, I wasn't just sad. I was angry, and I was awake. Richard was gone, but I wasn't. And I finally understood. If I didn't stand up now, I would be shelved neatly in the corner of other people's lives. Out of the way. Out of sight. Out of mind. And no one would ever stop to ask if I still wanted to live as me. That night, the house felt different. Not haunted, not sad, just watching. As if it knew something I didn't yet. At 2 a.m., I opened the basement door. I hadn't been down there since before the funeral. Richard always said it was his space, though half the tools hadn't been used in years. I made my way down, barefoot in the dark. No light, no plan, just a knowing in my gut. It was cold, quiet. Time didn't move down here. Then I saw it. Behind 2 dusty bottles of Merlot on the bottom shelf. A blue tin box. Slightly dented with rust along the hinges. It looked like nothing, but it felt like everything. I pulled it out, heart pounding like it was hiding a secret. Inside, a sealed envelope, thick, yellowed, labelled in Richard's handwriting. Margaret. Not my love, not to my wife, just Margaret. I sat on the concrete floor, cross-legged. I opened it. If you're reading this, I'm gone. I hated the thought of leaving you alone. But more than that, I feared what they'd try to do next. Margaret, they will try to take over, not out of malice, but out of habit. But you were never someone who needed to be managed. I wiped my eyes and turned the page. I've done what I could to protect your choices even when I'm no longer around to defend them. There's a cabin, Vermont, by the lake, the one you circled in that dog-eared magazine. It's in your name. I bought it under a separate holding trust. The deed is clear. Free and clear title. No mortgage. I worked with Connie West, our attorney. You remember her from the estate planning meeting in 17. Connie West. The one who always smelled faintly of lemon balm and legal deadlines. I've also created a revocable living trust in your name. Margaret Elaine Delaney. You are the sole trustee. The Charleston house, our investments, and the Vermont property are all under it. Evan and Ruby are not listed as beneficiaries. Only you. The life insurance will go to them. That's enough. What we built, this is for you to live. I felt the breath rush from my lungs. He knew. He saw it coming. He left me armor. There were more documents. Copies of the deed, trust certification, even a durable power of attorney Richard signed months before his final decline. He'd covered every angle. Quietly. Completely. At the bottom, clipped together, was a balance statement for an account labelled M.E. Delaney, Discretionary Fund, $72,140.14. Deposits are made monthly. From his pension. I couldn't speak, couldn't cry, just held that letter like a lifeline I hadn't known I needed. You spent your whole life giving. Now you get to choose. Don't ask permission. Don't wait for them to understand. Go. Live. Don't disappear politely. I pressed the letter to my chest. And for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel like a ghost. I felt like a woman with a choice. And a signature that still meant something. They came with contracts and confidence. What I did next made them break. Morning. When Evan's car pulled into the driveway, I was already dressed, Red linen dress, the one Richard used to say made me look like a woman who knows her worth. Hair brushed, no tears, no hesitation. I stood at the front window and watched him get out. Navy suit, leather folder tucked under one arm. Jaw set like this was a boardroom, not his mother's home. He didn't knock, just opened the door and called out, "Mom?" I stayed seated at the dining table. "In here," I said. He walked in briskly, the smell of his cologne arriving a second before he did. "Glad you're up. I brought the paperwork," he said, tapping the folder. "We're on a bit of a timeline. Buyers want to close by next Friday." I nodded, gesturing to the seat across from me. "Sit down, Evan." He did, hesitating just a second. "Everything's in order. We just need your signature on the seller's disclosure and a couple of power of attorney forms so Greg can finish the title work." Power of attorney. He thought this would be quick, clinical, clean. "Who told you I agreed to this?" I asked. He blinked. "Mum, we talked about it." "No," I said evenly. "You talked. I listened." He set the folder down, a tight breath escaping his nose. "We're trying to help you. You can't manage this house anymore. You're not 25. The yard alone is—" "I managed it just fine until now." He leaned forward, voice softer. "We're not saying you can't. We're saying you shouldn't have to." Shouldn't have to. As if aging meant surrendering all say. I looked him in the eye. "Tell me the truth, Evan. Did you already tell Greg the sale was confirmed?" His eyes darted. "I mean, we may have implied. You assumed I'd go along, without asking." He bristled. "Because this is logical, Mom. You don't need all this space. You're alone. And Lauren found that senior place with the wellness center and the art room and the—" "I'm not moving into a brochure," I said. His jaw tightened. I continued. "Did you think I'd be grateful for being handled like an elderly tax write-off?" He stood up, paced a few steps. "I don't understand. You always said you hated being in charge of the house, the upkeep, the bills. You said you were tired." I said I was grieving, Evan, not incapable." He stopped, stared at me. "So what? You're just going to live here forever? Alone? Until what? Something happens?" "No." I stood, walked to the sideboard, opened a drawer and pulled out a folder of my own. I set it gently on the table. "Here's what's going to happen." He opened it, skimmed, his brow furrowed. "What is this?" "It's the trust your father established in my name," I said. "Revocable, fully funded before his death, administered by Connie West. The house, the investments, and the Vermont property are held under it." His eyes snapped up. "Wait, what Vermont property?" I didn't answer, just let him sit with it. I added, "The trust is privately administered. I'm the sole trustee and beneficiary. There's no probate required, no joint ownership with you or Ruby. That's a legal fact." He swallowed hard. "And the power of attorney forms you brought?" "They're unnecessary. I already have a durable POA assigned. To Connie, not you." His hands dropped slightly from the folder. He looked younger suddenly, smaller. You planned all this without telling us." Your father did," I said, "because he knew what would happen. And frankly, so did I." The phone rang. I picked it up. Lauren's name. I hit the speaker. "Margaret," her voice chirped. "Evan told me you're being a bit resistant this morning." I smiled, genuinely this time. "Lauren, I'm not being resistant. I'm being clear. I'm not selling the house. I'm not moving into your curated solution. I have other plans." Lauren's voice sharpened. "This is insane, Margaret. Do you even hear yourself? You're throwing away everything we've arranged, like we're the enemy." Evan slammed his palm on the table. "What the hell is going on with you? You'd rather run off to God knows where than live near your own family." I stayed calm. Inside, I felt the heat of their anger, but I wasn't shaken. "I'm not running," I said. "I'm reclaiming. There's a difference," Lauren snapped. "You're acting like a stubborn old woman chasing a fantasy. We're the ones cleaning up the mess," Evan muttered. "Unbelievable," under his breath, pacing. Do you even care what this does to the rest of us? I met his eyes. I care. I just no longer believe that sacrificing myself is the only way to show it. The silence that followed hung heavy, not awkward, final. From the front window I saw it, the moving truck. Right on time. Evan followed my gaze. What is that? Help, I said simply, but not the kind you planned. He walked to the door, stepping out just as two men in blue uniforms approached the porch. One looked up from his clipboard. Mrs. Delaney? Ready to load the shipment? I nodded. Everything marked with a red sticker goes. The rest stays. Evan spun toward me. Where are you going? Somewhere that was meant for me, I said. Somewhere quiet, somewhere free. He looked panicked now, but not because I was leaving, because he couldn't control the story anymore. You can't just vanish, Mom. I'm not vanishing. I'm relocating. The movers began carrying boxes down the front steps. One of them held Richard's old typewriter. Another had a small potted fern from the sunroom. Evan stepped back inside. You're really doing this, he said. I already did. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. No more logic left to lean on. No more leverage. I picked up my handbag, walked over to him, and kissed his cheek gently. You'll be okay, Evan, even without managing me. Before he could respond, my phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't Lauren. It was Ruby. Mom, Becca just called me. She's crying. I didn't know everything. I want to hear your side. Please, call me. I didn't smile. I didn't cry. But for the first time in a long time, I felt seen. Not as a burden. Not as a background character. As a mother. As a woman. As someone worth calling, not just arranging. The truck doors shut with a metallic thunk. I handed the driver the address in Vermont. He glanced at it, then looked up. Nice spot. Peaceful. That's the idea, I said. As the engine rumbled to life and the house shrank behind us, I leaned back in the seat, let my hand rest on the window and breathed in. I wasn't escaping. I was arriving. I didn't need a map. The moment I saw it, I knew. This was always meant to be mine. The drive took 11 hours. I didn't rush. I didn't play music. Just the sound of the road, the changing trees, and Richard's letter tucked safely in the seat beside me. By the time I reached the edge of Vermont, the air had changed. It was thinner, crisper, like it hadn't been breathed in too many times. There were no strip malls, no honking, no timelines, just space. The cabin was tucked down a winding gravel road hidden by a screen of pine and maple. When I pulled in, the sunlight hit the porch in slanted gold, like someone had planned it for exactly that moment. And maybe he had. It was small, modest. Wooden siding the colour of honey, a porch swing, a tin mailbox with my name already on it. Margaret Delaney. No title, no Mrs., just me. Inside, it smelled faintly of cedar and lemon oil. Everything was clean, simple wooden furniture, a worn leather armchair, shelves waiting for books. A note on the kitchen counter handwritten in a neat script. Welcome home, Mrs. Delaney. Fresh groceries stocked, generator checked, keys are yours. Call if you need anything. Lydia, caretaker. I smiled, quietly. Even the welcome was humble, not grand, not overbearing, just kind. I didn't unpack all at once. Instead, I walked down the back path Richard mentioned in his letter, 20 steps through the trees until the woods opened into a clearing. The lake. Still. Clear. Not a single ripple. I sat on a rock at the shoreline, listened to the birds, the wind. For the first time in months, my shoulders didn't feel like armor. They felt light. That night, I made tea, sat in the armchair, opened my notebook, and began to write. Not a memoir, not a story about grief, just the truth. Somewhere along the way, I stopped belonging to myself. This is how I found my way back. I didn't finish the page because just then my phone buzzed. Becca. Her name alone made my heart slow down. I picked up. Grandma? She said softly. Are you safe? Yes, I said. I'm safe. She was quiet for a moment, then, I want to come see you. Not to fix anything. I just want to be where you are. I closed my eyes. Spring was coming. So was she. I didn't come here to escape. I came to rise, in my own name, on my own terms, in a world that no longer tells me who to be. 3 weeks later, I stood at the arrivals gate of Burlington Airport. She almost walked past me. Gone were the filters, the curled hair, the polished perfection. Becca wore faded jeans, a canvas tote, and her hair pulled back in a messy bun. But when her eyes found mine, something melted. "Grandma," she said, dropping her bag. And then she ran. Her arms wrapped around me in a hug that wasn't polite. It was real. Tears burned, but I held them back, not from fear, from joy. "You look amazing," she said, pulling back. "Like, glowing. Did you cut your hair?" "Just a trim," I smiled. "Fresh air helped." She pressed her face to the car window the entire drive, pointing out trees, mountains. "This is where Grandpa wanted to bring you," she whispered. I nodded. He left it for me, but I think he always meant it for us. When we pulled into the cabin driveway, she went still, eyes wide at the swing, the lake in the distance, the quiet. "He knew you'd need this, didn't he?" I didn't answer. I didn't have to. That night, we sat on the porch drinking cocoa and listening to the lake. "Tell me everything," she said. And for the first time in years, someone didn't want my advice, didn't want a favor, didn't want me to be useful. She just wanted me. So I told her about Richard, about the letter, about the trust, the lie of being taken care of, and the truth of finding your voice too late, unless you choose not to. We talked until the stars came out. Later that week, she asked if she could stay longer. "I don't want to go back to pretending," she said. I looked at her, not as a child, but as a woman at the edge of becoming, and I said, "Then don't. Stay. Let's figure it out together." We rebuilt slowly. Morning walks, garden planting. I wrote, she filmed. Sometimes she just watched me sip tea, as if that too was worth remembering. One afternoon I caught her on the porch, crying softly. "What is it, honey?" She wiped her face. I'm angry. I believed them, that they made you feel like you had to vanish quietly." I took her hand. "They didn't make me. I let them. But I'm not mad at myself. I survived long enough to stop. And that's something worth being proud of." If you're listening and you've ever felt erased, dismissed, or repackaged into someone else's version of what's best, hear me clearly. You don't owe your silence. You don't owe your surrender. You are not too old, too late, or too much. You are allowed to begin again. Not for them, not for legacy, for you. And when you do it loudly. Do it fully. Do it in red, like a woman who knows exactly who she is. So, that's how the story ends. If this made you think, or if you've lived through something similar, share your thoughts in the comments. Our channel is a space for sharing tales of the elderly and family revenge stories from people who have weathered life's storms. Subscribe to the channel for more, because sometimes the deepest form of revenge is simply living on your own terms.